This is going to be all over the place, but I was originally going to make another video that I made before, which got deleted, about like how people end up turned out. But honestly, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to focus more on the true Yasharel community, or at least, well, certain ones, mostly the Judah tribe Bantus in America. And this could apply to like other people too, but I'm mostly focusing on people of my ethnicity. I'm going to talk about what I always like to call the feminine thug persona, how being a thug / a thuggy priest is being gay or down low. That's what it's all about, to be honest. And how in the quote-unquote black community, everything is considered gay, and everybody, or at least, well, I guess I could say maybe like the parents or whoever hyper-focused on what is and isn't gay. And especially the dudes have like a hyper focus on what's supposedly gay, yet they're all gay. So, yeah. That's what I'm going to be talking about. Everything's gay, yet everybody's gay anyway, so what's the point? My goal is always to talk about the things that are the most controversial, because those are the things that really matter. So yeah, it all comes from trauma. So majority of the men and women are Jezebelic, or what people now want to call quote-unquote narcissistic, which I don't like psych labels. And they're on the down low. And as I've mentioned before somewhere, I think, like, many people say that they won't even date quote-unquote black American men because they all have issues with their mom. They all have issues with women because of things that their mom did to them. So they grew up with the Jezebelic, abusive, single mom, who of course is obsessed with whooping people, and then they hate women, to make a long story short, and they also end up on the down low for many reasons. Or just straight up gay. They don't even have to be on the down low. Like, to be honest, it's all the down low thug dudes that are the ones running around beating on women anyways. And that's why, the gay dudes aren't that much different. They beat on women too, but it's like they're at least not trying to like hide stuff. Which actually, I'm not even that sure if I can still use that word or not without this being flagged. But that's what I'm going to talk about. So you already know that you have the down low thugs, and then you have the strong black women, quote unquote, who are also Jezebelic, because the men and the women have grown up being beat on and essayed their whole life. This also leads to the hypersexuality, aside from neglect. Neglect also causes this. And as a side note, apparently most Nigerian guys are also on the down low and abusive. But yeah, I'm gonna focus on screenshots and like talking about how, due to the whooping culture, when somebody thinks that their kid is turned out, especially if it's a boy, or really I guess either way, they'll just abuse the kid more and turn them out even more, especially with word curses, because the thing is, without sex, there is no sexuality. So you're actually just pushing your kid into something that they're really not in, unless like you already are essaying them, or you have your boyfriends or whatever relative essaying them, which still isn't their fault. And that can go into another thing. We already know that when kids are essayed, they're blamed for it and all that, really just like with any abuse. But with guys, if they're essayed by an older woman, or really I guess any girl, especially if it's not like their mom or something, they're made to feel like they were just lucky. But if it was a guy, then they're told that they're gay and different things like that. Kind of just like how Atlanta got to the point that it's at, with, for one, the Freemason cults, and two, people pimping out their kids. There's actually a documentary about child quote-unquote prostitute, something like that. And there's this one boy who's quote-unquote black, and he was being forced to felt like he had to, be abused by guys for money. And then the reporter had said that, how are two guys having sex for money? But the thing is, that's not even the issue. The issue always starts off with some form of abuse or neglect, or SA. Because of course, to get these issues, you don't even have to necessarily be SA'd. You just have to have family dysfunction in general. That's what I always say, because really, it doesn't have to be SA. It's typically a lot of generational issues, but still, just like your dad being there and he doesn't pay attention to you, your mom not paying attention to you, or your mom not being there, your dad not being there. Although, I will say this whole put a dad in the home thing has nothing to do with anything. And in fact, these dudes that are being thrown in the home are being allowed to essay the kids, the boys and the girls. So that's causing more issues, just throwing random dudes in there. In fact, the number one indicator for abuse in the home is a step-parent. But I will say that the whole domestic violence, the woman is the victim thing, isn't true. I mean, it depends on the situation, but typically it's two abusers working together to abuse the kids. It's not like the woman's the victim and then the kids are just there, when the kids are always also going to be the victim in DV. But I guess that could maybe be a whole nother video, but yeah, so the idea that just a dad not being there doesn't have anything to do with anything, if that came out right, I'm pretty sure it did. Can't really remember, but the dads are on the down low too, so that's another thing. The women are Jezebel just like the men are, and they're like, I don't know, it's like they always talk about how they don't need a man, but I do feel like a lot of them may be bi, or they're like maybe down low lesbians themselves, just like the dudes are down low. Which is another thing that people don't talk about. For one, I realized that due to the fact that Jezebel and Leviathan field abusers are like under control of the Marine Kingdom, of course there's going to be Marine Kingdom generational curses, and Marine Kingdom is also over like different sexual spirits, which is also why quote-unquote narcs have the sexual issues that they do. So, due to the spiritual epigenetics, the kids are going to be, like, turned out and have all types of paraphilias anyways, because the parents also do. And this is where the whole I was born this way thing comes from. So, people are talking about the issues that their kids have, but to be honest, the parents are also turned out. The parents are also bi or whatever in the world. In fact, typically in a narc family system, the whole family is gay or bi, or have other paraphilia. And sometimes due to like the spiritual transference from the abuse, or just from like the epigenetics, these boys especially will get labeled off as gay for just taking on the mannerisms of their mom and their Jezebelic moms or sisters, even though, to be truthfully honest, there's a big chance that you're just going to take on the mannerisms of what you're around, regardless of whether you're quote-unquote gay or not. Like, I know a lot of guys that aren't gay, but just due to the fact that they grew up around only women, they just have the mannerisms, like the whole girl bi and different stuff like that, that sometimes even considered Southern. And sometimes due to the Southern accent or certain accents, you can't always really tell that the guys are like, I don't know, have these like feminine ways, because that's just like a common way to talk around there. And then another thing, you beat your kids for supposedly being gay, even though you teach your sons to never be a man because men are bad. And then they also learn that they can't like women because all women are evil, or all women let men come and beat on them and their kids, or all women beat on their kids, or all women are abusive, or whatever in the world. And I even noticed that like girls whose dads aren't there, they sometimes will just like learn to hate men from their mom, and they'll also feel like if my dad was here, then my mom wouldn't be abusive, when honestly that's probably not even true. But yeah, so they start to like only date women, but there's a lot of things with that. And then also religious organizations teach you that like spirits aren't real, so you ignore the spiritual side, and of course you don't even care about the physical side because you traumatize and turn your own kids out, and then act like you don't know what happened, when really your kids are turned out like you are. But it's still a spiritual thing, so I mean, you can't beat a demon out of anybody anyways. After beating the demons into them and then wondering why your kids are walking around with like dog collars and belts and handcuffs. In fact, this is the reality of why, like especially back in maybe the late 2010s, a lot of people in the alphabet community were talking about how like the reason that a lot of people will say all these bad things about people who are like turned out, because I don't really know what I can and can't say, and they'll like talk junk about them, is because they're actually alphabet themselves. And honestly, as much as people try to like refute that, it actually is true a lot of the time, especially with these dudes. And then another thing, so like, I don't know, childhood porn addiction, which typically comes from like neglect anyways, or like they already had early sexual exposure. But the thing with that and other, I guess, other types of sexual addiction is that if somebody's like punished for it, they don't actually like get help to not have the addiction anymore. They just learn that they have to be more secretive with addiction to not get punished for it, when the addiction is already a coping mechanism for whatever bad situation anyways. And so yeah, then things just get worse and worse, and then you're wondering why your kid is like I don't know, a chomo by 10, because you actually push them deeper into it